Aradhito Bhagavan Vasudeva.
Aradhito Bhagavan Vasudeva. Ete Shritite Nripaveda Gite. Taya Viprishte Chasanatane Cha. Evai Pura Brahmani Ahatushta. Aradhito Bhagavan Vasudeva.
Ete Street Nripaveda Gite.
Ete Shritite Nripaveda Gite.
Toya Viprishte Chasanatane Cha.
Taya Viprishte Chasanatane Cha.
Yevai Pura Brahmana Ahatushta.
Yevai Pura Brahmana Ahatushta.
Aradhito Bhagavan Vasudeva.
Aradhito Bhagavan Vasudeva.
Anybody else?
Ete Shritite Nripaveda Gite.
Ete Shritite Nripaveda Gite.
Vaya Viprishte Chasanatane Cha.
Vaya Viprishte Chasanatane Cha.
Devai Pura Brahmana Ahatushta.
Yevai Pura Brahmana Ahatushta.
Aradhito Bhagavan Vasudeva.
Aradhito Bhagavan Vasudeva.
Okay, Mataji's.
Toya Viprishte Chasanatane Cha. Yevai Pura Brahmana Ahatushta. Aradhito Bhagavan Vasudeva. Ete Shritite Nripaveda Gite. Toya Viprishte Chasanatane Cha. Yevai Pura Brahmana Ahatushta. Aradhito Bhagavan Vasudeva. Ete Shritite Nripaveda Gite. Toya Viprishte Chasanatane Cha. Yevai Pura Brahmana Ahatushta. Aradhito Bhagavan Vasudeva.
Okay. Iti, all that is described. Shruti way te unto you. Nripa, O Maharaj Parikshit. Veda Gita, according to the version of the Vedas. Toya, by. Sorry, it's a half thing here. By your Majesty. Abhiprishte, being properly inquired. Cha, also. Sanatane, in the matter of eternal truth. Cha, verily. Yeah, which. Why, certainly. Pura, before. Brahmane, unto Lord Brahma. Aha, said. Tushtaha, being satisfied. Aradhitaha, being worshipped. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Vasudevaha, Lord Krishna. Translation. And purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Your Majesty Maharaj Parikshit, know that all that I have described in reply to your proper inquiry is just according to the version of the Vedas and its eternal truth. This was described personally by Lord Krishna unto Brahma, with whom the Lord was satisfied upon being properly worshipped. Purport. the two different ways of reaching the spiritual sky and thereby getting emancipation from all material bondage, namely either the direct process of reaching the kingdom of God or the gradual process through the higher planets of the universe, are set forward exactly according to the version of the Vedas. The Vedic version is in this connection. Yada sarve pramuchante kama yasya hridi shishtaha atamartyo smrityo bhavati atra brahma samasnute. Brihad Aranyakya Upanishad 4.4.7 and Te Ruchir Abhisambhavanti. Brihad Aranyakya Upanishad 6.2.15. Those who are free from all material desires, which are diseases of the heart, are able to conquer death and enter the kingdom of God to the Archie planets. These Vedic versions collaborate the version of the Srimad Bhagavatam and latter and further confirmed by Shukadeva Goswami, who affirms that the truth was disclosed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, Vasudeva to Brahma, the first authority on the Vedas. The disciplic succession holds that the Vedas were uttered by Lord Krishna to Brahma. Can you turn that down a little bit? By Brahma to Narada, and by Narada to Vyasadeva, and then Vyasadeva to Shukadeva Goswami, and so on. So there is no difference between the version of all the authorities. The truth is eternal, and as such, there cannot be any new opinion about the truth. That is the way of knowing the knowledge contained in the Vedas. It is not a thing to be understood by one erudite scholar or by the fashionable interpretations of mundane scholars. There is nothing to be added or nothing to be subtracted, because the truth is the truth. One has to accept, after all, some authority. The modern scientists are also authorities for common man for some scientific truth. The common man follows a version of the scientist. This means that the common man follows the authority. The Vedic knowledge is also received in that way. The common man cannot argue about what is beyond the sky or beyond the universe. He must accept the authority of the Vedas as they are understood by the authorized disciplic succession. In the Bhagavad Gita, also the same process of understanding Gita is stated in the 4th chapter. If one does not follow the authoritative version of the Acaryas, he will vainly search after the truth mentioned in the Vedas. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitamena Tasmai Shugrive Namah Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadammayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyatapatakamelam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sagar Chatam Sagar Ragnathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhuitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vijakan Vishamta He Krishna Karuna Sindhudina Vandhu Jakavate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanda Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavane Shri Vishavanuste Devi Pranamam Yaripe Panchakapaturvishcha Kripa Sindhuveva Chapatita Nam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamiti Namane Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharne Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschati Desasarne Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jnananandam Mahim Devam Nirvashpatikakridam Adaram Sarva Vidyam Hayagrivam Upasmahe. So, we're speaking here towards the later part of this chapter here, The Lord in the Heart, entitled Shukadeva Goswami, describing the processes of a yogi and how he ascends to the platform of attaining the spiritual realm, or attaining his desired abode according to the yogi. So we can understand here that Shukadeva Goswami is a bona fide spiritual master. And why specifically in this verse do we understand that he is a bona fide spiritual master? It's very simple. Disciplic succession. What part of that lets us know that? Right? This was described personally by Lord Krishna unto Brahma, with whom the Lord was satisfied upon being properly worshipped. So Lord Brahma, he was granted the knowledge of all the Vedas. What's the first verse? Who knows the first verse of the Bhagavatam? Janmadhyasya. So I forget it. So that Hridaya Adi Kavaye, this word comes, that Brahma, he received the knowledge within the heart from Lord Krishna. And so in this verse we can understand to some great extent why he also received this knowledge and why he was qualified to receive this knowledge. And we can see that he was satisfied upon being properly worshipped. So Srila Prabhupada runs through the purport, and if you analyze a lot of the purports of the Bhagavatam in relation to the Guru Parampara or the disciplic succession, pretty much more or less a standard purport of how he would structure it. He's describing how that Shukadev Goswami, what he's describing is the Vedic literature and how this is coming in disciplic succession, and how that rascals who want to study it scholarly will never be able to understand such things, and one should not take knowledge from them. Right? This is like a standard Srila Prabhupada's going through he's presenting what the Guru Parampara is presenting and presenting the essence of it. So we can understand that this knowledge obviously is received in disciplic succession by Srila Prabhupada, and he references a lot of the time Bhagavad Gita text number 2, Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajashur Viduhu Sakalena Mahata Yoga Nashta Parantapa. That this knowledge is coming in disciplic succession over thousands of years, and it was understood by saintly kings in this way. But in time it was broken, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita, so he's come to reveal that knowledge again. And so, so we can understand that this knowledge, if it is not given within the Parampara system, that it is not to be accepted, even though it may seem exactly the same a lot of the times, because the Mayavadis will also propound the same philosophy. They'll speak the same verses of the Bhagavad Gita, right? We were at this temple, Hindu temple, distributing books, and this person came up to us and he said that, do you have the Bhagavad Gita which just has the translations, not the translations, just the Sanskrit, so you can read the Sanskrit. We don't want the purports. I said, why? Because he said, my son told me that in the purports they're just preaching. They're pushing towards a philosophy. But this is rascaldom, that you want to understand everything by your own mind, right? Brahma, he couldn't understand it by his own mind. Brahma, the most intelligent person in the whole universe, the most advanced living entity in the whole universe, intellectually, in all ways you could say, he couldn't understand. He had to develop the mood of devotion in order to get that knowledge within the heart. So for someone to come up and say, yes, I've got this knowledge and I'm going to give it to you, and then to be foolish enough to receive that through that person is like, Prabhupada often gives the example that just like milk is very pure and it is very nourishing, but when it is being, when a snake injects its poison into it, then it is very detrimental. So even they may speak the same words, they may chant the same mantra, but if it has not been received by disciplic succession, then it is bogus. Then we will not receive knowledge. Just like there's this one person who is a Mayavadi that gave me one particular mantra. And he told me to chant that every day and it'll help you with your problems. But I don't chant it. Why? We don't chant it. Why? Because he's a Mayavadi and he's giving me that mantra, then the effect that it's going to have is completely opposite to the desired effect. And it's name of Ram. It's actually considered, this verse is particularly a verse that if you chant this verse, it's like chanting the whole Vishnu Sahasranam. Instead of chanting the whole Vishnu Sahasranam, you just chant this and you get all the benefits of the Vishnu Sahasranam. But because it's been given by a Mayavadi, we don't accept it. Even though it's name of Krishna, we just don't accept it. It's not like modern science where you just, as long as it's knowledge, you can accept it. But that's not how Guru Parampara, that is not how we function in the line of Vedic tradition. Because it's not just about knowledge here. You see, if you read Srila Prabhupada's books carefully, often he'll make the point that Jnana and Vijnana is there. The Vijnana is more important than the Jnana itself. The practice of the knowledge. So some rascal may propound, some philosopher may say all these things, but we're not to take it from him because we will not get the devotion. What is it that what's the Durlabha Prema Karibera Dan Shikaira Sharanagati Bhakitera Pran. That this devotional service is very difficult to attain. It's very in the distance, it's like so far. Durlabha Prema Karibera Dan. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give this. And Shikaira Sharanagati Bhakitera Pan. Shikaira, he's teaching Sharanagati, this process of surrender, which is the life of the devotee, right? So, Guru Maharaj gives this really amazing set of 38 lectures on Sharanagati. You devotees can hear. I can show you maybe at the end of the class how to find it. But he mentions in this that, and it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's where he's referencing, that Lord Brahma had to, the way to participate in devotional service is through dainya. This humility aspect comes up first, always, the aspect of humility. So Lord Brahma, who is the chief of our parampara, in order to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had to descend in a family of Muslims as Haridas Thakur. And he was basically considered outside the Vedic culture. He had to take that mood we take of straw between the teeth in order to achieve this prema, which is very difficult to attain. Atanta durlabha. It's very difficult to attain. It's practically, it's like, where are you going to get this? Even Lord Brahma, who is the most intelligent in the universe, and he's our head of our parampara, we come in the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya. He had to descend with that mood of humility. And so this particular key word here, you see, in this whole verse, the key word is properly worshipped. That the Lord is satisfied by the proper worship. And He grants knowledge unto one, just like we have that verse, that the spiritual master, the Lord gives the spiritual master, and the spiritual master gives one Krishna. Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. That when the Lord is satisfied upon being worshipped properly, then He grants us knowledge. Just like He's granted knowledge to Lord Brahma within the heart. And so this humility aspect is very much present, not just is present in all Vaishnava traditions. Everybody knows the 4 Vaishnava traditions that there are. We have 4 bona fide Vaishnava lines that anyone can follow these lines and go back home, back to Godhead. Who knows all the sampradayas? Who knows the different sampradayas? Lakshmi Sampradaya, yeah. The Kumaras, yeah. Huh? Rudra Sampradaya? Huh? And Brahma, right? Brahma. So there is the Lakshmi Sampradaya. Who's the Acharya? Ramanuja Acharya. And then who's the Acharya for Kumaras? Nimbarka Swami. Nimbarka. And then we have, who is the Acharya for the Rudra Sampradaya? Vishnu Swami. And then for who's the Acharya for the Brahma Madhva Acharya. And so why is it that, there's these 4 disciplic succession, why is it that we are slightly, what line are we in? Brahma Madhva. And then we have the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So why is it that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose this particular line? Who knows why we are in the, because there's Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the most prominent was more or less the Brahma Madhva, and then the Lakshmi Sampradaya were there. Why is it that he chose the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya?
Krishna himself, the origin of the Sampradaya.
Well, that's their Lakshmi Sampradaya. They're giving the Vaishnava tradition too. That's also coming in a pure line. No. That came afterwards. The understanding of Vatsalya Ras and Madhurya Ras, that came with the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. We see with I'm forgetting his name. After Madhvacharya, where we have, I'm forgetting his name, Madhavendra Puri, I believe, who was the spiritual master of Ishvara Puri. He gave this more. He started going. He started giving this more inner understandings of this. These different rasas that are there. So why is it that we come in this particular line? What did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically like about Madhvacharya that he chose? Okay, this is the part of the line that we're in. It's very.
Because there is emphasis in devotional service.
That's there in all. This Atma Nivedana is there in all Vaishnava tradition. You see that in Sri Vaishnava tradition. You see that in the Rudra Sampradaya and the Kumara Sampradaya, not so prominent anymore. Huh? Bhima? No, that's not the reason. The reason is because Madhvacharya was so much against Mayavad philosophy. Madhvacharya was very, very, very strong with Mayavadis. He would not tolerate any inch of it. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically liked this factor. And so we come in this line of Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. And so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like we were saying, specifically came to teach this mood of surrender. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he goes through that. He goes through the different aspects of surrender. And so one is meant to learn that according to the Guru Parampara. One is meant to learn that aspect of surrender, that aspect of chastity to the Guru Parampara, and how to attain that point of prema by that humility, by surrendering oneself, by accepting Krishna as one's protector, one's father, one's mother, having all faith that he will do such things, and being very humble. So these are the Sharanagati, the way of devotion service, the way of surrender unto Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, and also to our acharyas, that this principle that's being given in Sharanagati is not just to be applied, it's also to be applied towards the Guru Parampara. That same mood of devotion is to also be, it's naturally understood that is also the way that one performs devotional service. Because the truth is being given by the acharyas, and as Krishna says, Tadvidi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tadvidarshana. You'll see pretty much any time this comes up, Srila Prabhupada will quote this verse. Anytime, any sort of system with any translation with the parampara and mentioning the line comes up, Srila Prabhupada will quote this verse. So tadvidi pranipatina, that's one should approach a guru and very submissively and inquire from him, serve him. So for that guru, he has seen the truth and he will reveal that truth unto him. So that is the process, and so that is the process of surrender that Krishna is giving in the Bhagavad Gita. But then,
Yeah, it's going on.
okay.